Hello, I'm Alisa Brownlee with the ALS United Mid-Atlantic office, and as part of our emergency preparedness series, I'm going to speak to you on the importance of a generator today and how they can be very important with the medical management of ALS. So I have a PowerPoint presentation that is going to give all the information that you need to make the best decision for you when it comes to purchasing a generator. I speak about different products. My disclaimer, I have nothing to do with any of these companies. I don't represent anybody. I only work for ALS United Mid-Atlantic, but you will see named products in this presentation. So a generator is the first line of defense against power outages. I have a comprehensive handout, probably 15 pages of information on generators. If you'd like a copy, please email me. My email is here. I'll also repeat it for you. It's Alisa, A-L-I-S-A, at alsmidatlantic.org. I am happy to send you an electronic copy of this handout. If you want a copy of this whole presentation, again, email me. Happy to share. So why is a generator needed? Well, we live in unprecedented weather and climate times. So most power outages are weather related. As the number and the severity of extreme weather events rise, so does the likelihood of a blackout lasting 24 hours or more. I can tell you just from beginning of the summer in July, now I'm in the Philadelphia suburbs, but right before a heat wave, Philadelphia got an unprecedented flood. And because of that flood, we had power lines down and we had people without power for 4 to 5 days. And the temperature was about 94 to 98 degrees. So you have to prepare for more than just a few hour blackout of power. Okay. Another reason a generator is needed is because of medical conditions. And this is what we're talking about, ALS, management of ALS. As the disease progresses, you're going to have more products come into your home that are going to require electricity. Maybe that's a power wheelchair. Maybe that's a non-invasive ventilator, a communication device, your phone. So when it comes to people who are on non-invasive ventilation, or not also known as NIV, those devices have a 6-hour backup battery. Now, some people buy another battery, that's another 6 hours, but that's 12 hours. And what happens at the end of 12 hours? This is especially vital for people who live in areas that might have weather-related issues, and they were issued a mandatory evacuation and they opted to stay for whatever personal reasons. But it's important to know that if you opt to stay when you have been mandated to leave, first responders are not going to risk their lives to come to your aid. You are going to be on your own. So you have to plan for that. And if you need a generator that will last multiple days, you'll be looking at a generator that might be a whole house generator or a large propane, gas, diesel. We're going to talk about all that. People who have well water, without electricity, your well pump and your filtration system will quickly lose the ability to provide fresh and safe drinking water. If you have a sump pump, losing power means you also lose protection against weather damage in those areas where the sump pump is active. And then convenience. For those of us that work at home, a generator could be vital that we can continue to work, or if we have children that we're homeschooling, or in my area, our school district now does not have any snow days. If it snows, they have virtual school. So you need a generator if you're going to have your children virtually school if you lose power. So how do you choose the right generator? You can determine your power needs. There's multiple formula sheets out on the internet, which will help you. They are basically a sheet that says, I need to run this, and you check the box off. And at the bottom, it's going to tell you what size generator you need. You also need to choose a fuel type. So if you're doing a fuel-based generator, they come gas, natural gas, propane, and then there are non-fuel generators that we're going to address. You need to consider the features. Is there a transfer switch? Do you need to go outside in the middle of a snowstorm because you've lost power to transfer a switch? Is there a noise level? What's the portability of your generator? Does it have automatic start? So it means when you lose power, within 5 seconds, it's going to start up. And then consider all the safety features on your generator. Are you in a community with a homeowners association? Well, they have their own rules, and it's important to know their guidelines before purchasing a generator. So, types of generators. We have whole house generators, which are wired into your electric system. You have fuel-based generators, natural gas, gas, and propane. And then you have non-fuel generators, which have solar panels or battery. We're going to address all of these. Factors to consider, obviously the cost. A whole house generator is going to be your most expensive generator. You can buy a small generator for $300, $400, $500. The size and capacity of your generator are things to consider. What's your fuel source? And then should you get professional installation? And if it's a fuel-based, yes, absolutely. If it's a whole house, it's going to have to be professionally installed. If it's a non-fuel based, probably not. So a whole house generator is permanently installed and it has a backup power system that automatically provides electricity to your entire home during a power outage. Unlike portable generators, these units are connected to your home's electric system and are wired to a fuel source, most often natural gas or propane, and automatically switch on when your power grid fails. This ensures continuous power for all your essential appliances and your essential medical systems, including, as I mentioned, your ventilator, your power chair, and then it will also run your heating and your cooling system and your refrigerator, because we're all concerned when we lose power about how much food we have in the refrigerator or freezer. Average cost of a whole house generator is anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. You have fuel-based generators. These are gas, propane, etc. So a fuel-based generator is a device that converts the chemical energy of fuel into electric energy. Typically consists of an engine that burns fuel to produce mechanical energy, which can then drive an alternator to generate electricity. Common fuel types, as I mentioned, gasoline, it could be diesel, natural gas, or propane. When determining which generator fuel best fits your needs, it's important to consider factors such as the fuel availability and your storage capacity. So a major factor added to the equation would be generator size, because the bigger the size, the more fuel it's going to burn. So you need to have extra fuel to make sure that it can run for multiple days. Since each fuel type has its own advantages and disadvantages, the best fuel type for deciding on a backup generator depends heavily on your situation and your needs. That's when you would go back to the formula or the checklist that you should initially do to determine what kind of ventilator you need, and that will help you with this decision. The average cost of a fuel-based generator can be anywhere from $500 to $7,000. However, with fuel-based generators, safety is imperative. Fuel generators produce carbon monoxide, which is a colorless, odorless, and poisonous gas. You can never operate a fuel generator inside a home or in the garage or in a basement or in any enclosed space. They must be 20 feet or more away from your home. So if you're using a fuel-based generator, it is encouraged that you have a carbon monoxide detector in your home, just in case. So placing your generator 20 feet away from your home will prevent carbon monoxide from coming into your home. And you need to make sure that the exhaust from the generator is directed away from your windows and your doors. You need to be aware of carbon monoxide poisoning, which would include headaches, dizziness, nausea, fatigue, and then you need to seek immediate fresh air, and then you should call first responders if you have these symptoms. You need to keep your children and your pets away from your generator. Fuel generators can emit so much carbon as up to 450 cars, according to federal figures. Unfortunately, carbon monoxide kills an average of 70 people in the United States each year and injure thousands more, making them one of the most dangerous consumer products on the market, making generators one of the most dangerous consumer products on the market. Generators are a loosely regulated industry. There was a report from a combination of NBC, ProPublica, and the Texas Tribune that you can click on if you get this presentation, or you can just look it up. And when it comes to fuel-based generators, always consider professional installation and maintenance. Now, I want to go back to the fact that fuel-based generators have to be at least 20 feet away from your home. When I mentioned if you live in an area or a community that has a homeowners association, this might be impossible depending on your homeowners association, because sometimes 20 feet away from your home is in a community area, and that would be violating the HOA rules. The other thing to consider with an HOA is the noise. Fuel-based generators do make noise, and that might be a violation of your HOA. So when it comes to storing fuel, for portable generators, it's recommended to have at least 5 to 10 gallons of gasoline on hand for a day or two of use. If you live in an area where you might get snowed in, where you might lose power for multiple days, you need to double that. Having extra fuel allows flexibility, and of course, if it's you need more fuel if you're running it 24/7. You also may want to consider purchasing a fuel stabilizer to preserve the fuel that you have for longer storage. As I just mentioned, if you live in a rural area prone to snow, ice, or whatever, you might need to consider having more fuel on hand. So the factors to be considered when it comes to storing fuel: generator size. Larger generators will consume more fuel. The load, the amount of power you are drawing from the generator, meaning the number of appliances. If you have a refrigerator, and then you have a deep freeze, and then you have an air conditioner, and then you're running a sump pump, you're obviously going to be drawing more. So you're going to need more fuel. You need to consider the run time, determine how long you need the generator to run for continuously. Your fuel type, gasoline and propane, are common for portable generators, while natural gas is also often used just for stationary generators, meaning whole house generators. And then when it comes to storage, ensure you have proper storage for fuel, especially gasoline, which is kept away from the house, away from ignition sources, and kept in ventilated areas. Consider whether the fuel type can be stored and whether you have the storage space for as many gallons as you need. For example, diesel fuel is often stored in tanks that feed into the diesel generator, meaning the more diesel fuel available in the tank, the longer the diesel generator can operate. Most types of generator fuel can be stored in somewhat similar ways, except, of course, natural gas. While this is generally fine in applications where natural gas generators are used, if supply from the natural gas utility is cut off, the natural gas generator will obviously been rendered inoperable. It's important to know the shelf life of your fuel. Shelf life refers to how long fuel can be stored before it begins to degrade. This factor relates to how often you use your generator, as you want to avoid letting fuel go bad before you can use it. An example, when considering propane versus diesel fuel shelf lives, both have relatively long shelf lives compared to standard gasoline. Diesel fuel can and will degrade much faster than propane, though. Diesel fuel treatments or services like diesel fuel polishing can help maintain and slow diesel fuel degradation, but ultimately diesel fuel might need to be replaced. How are you going to replenish your fuel source? So if you live in an area that you can get to a gas station real quick, but it's like a half hour to a propane dealer, you might want to consider gas instead. Ask if your fuel source could be delivered to you. Can't hurt to ask. Gasoline tanks for portable residential generators can be filled at your local gas station, as I just mentioned, while natural gas generators are connected to the gas pipeline. So, issue, can you get gas? Well, they have fuel. We've all seen videos of areas that have been impacted by hurricanes where people wait in line for hours for gas. So don't assume that you can just go to the service station and pick up some gas. For fuel types such as diesel, you may require a company to deliver diesel fuel and refill your tank as needed. In emergencies and inclement weather, receiving diesel fuel delivery might prove difficult, so it's important to consider contingency measures. And then how readily available is the fuel type? What is the ease of access of obtaining more? Can you replenish the fuel supply if you expect to run your generator for prolonged periods? And it's important to consider these factors if faced with a power outage due to a natural disaster, severe weather such as winter storms or blizzards, or inclement weather such as torrential rain, downpours, and high wind. If you opt to say, you know, I can't because of my HOA have a fuel generator, or I don't want to deal with that, there are non-fuel generators as an option. So rather than burning fossil fuels, battery-powered generators plug into an external power source, whether or not that's an outlet in your house, a vehicle, solar panels, whatever. And so the solar panel or whatever you're using collects and stores energy to run the generator. Because they don't use fuel, battery-powered generators don't produce carbon monoxide or any other emissions. They are also quiet. They don't produce noise. A non-fuel-based generator, also known as a gasless generator or portable power station, is a device that produces electricity without relying on traditional liquid or gaseous fuels like gas or propane. So what types are available? There are portable power stations like this one here or this one here. They are self-contained units that combine a battery, an inverter, and various output ports. So if you were using this Jackery, you would plug this in somewhere in the house, wherever, you know, in a room that you really don't use a plug in. If you lose power, you unplug this and then it's on wheels, so you can bring it wherever you need it. If you're in the living room, if you have a hospital bed set up in the living room and that's where you're spending your time, you bring this right in and you can see you can plug in up to 4 different devices, has a USB port and a C port. This is a smaller one, 3 devices, same operation though. You would plug it in somewhere in the house. If you lose power, you bring it out. Then you have solar generators. These are portable power stations that are specifically designed to be charged by solar panels. They can actually be done both. So this is another Jackery. It can be plugged in and charged. And then as the battery drains, if next day you put out the solar panels produce electricity, you bring the solar panels in and it provides power to the generator. Key features of non-fuel generators are that they're battery powered. They rely on rechargeable batteries. Gasoline and propane are obviously going to rely on supply chains. So during storms and blackouts, gas stations may close, as I mentioned. Delivery trucks might not come. Propane tanks might be empty and refill locations might be far away. In remote areas, finding fuel is always a challenge. Cold weather, propane might not flow well or might freeze in the line. Non-fuel generators are renewable energy options. They can be charged using solar panels or plugged into a wall outlet. They are portable, as I just said. Some of them are on wheels, some of them you just carry. They don't make noise. They are eco-friendly, and they are safe. Gas generators involve a fire risk. They involve a carbon monoxide risk, whereas non-fuel generators do not. So how do they work? They have a battery storage. The core of a non-fuel generator is its battery bank, which stores the electricity that is used for power devices. They have, in terms of charging measures, they have solar panels where sunlight is converted into electricity by the solar panels and then stored in the battery. They have AC power. Some models can be plugged into a standard outlet to recharge the battery. Some do both. They do solar and they can plug into the walls I mentioned. And then once charged, the generator can provide power to various devices through AC outlets, USB ports, or other connections. Maintenance and cost of a non-fuel generator. Every gallon of gas or propane costs money. Prices change with the market. Obviously, gas prices fluctuate sometimes daily. A 2-day outage can cost $50 or more in fuel alone. And that does not include oil changes, air filters, spark plugs, repairs. Over time, this can add up. Gasless generators can cost more up front, but can also at the back end cost less because there's no fuel, no filters, no noisy controls of parts. Most models last for a year with little care. Average cost of a non-fuel generator, $500 to $5,000. As I mentioned at the initial onset of this presentation, I have a lengthy handout on generators. Happy to send it to you. You can email me at alisa@alsmidatlantic.org. You can also get a copy of this presentation should you want one. You can find me all over social media. And I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to show you my inverter, my generator. I bought this a couple of years ago. It's very heavy. This is my Jackery. Okay. So I have a plug that I can plug in. Yeah, where is it? So I can plug this in and I can charge it up. It also has a flashlight on the side here. And it'll tell me, so here's the flashlight. It'll tell me when I turn it on how much battery life I have. And so right now I have 100%. I hope you can see that. So I plug that in and I can get hours on that. If my battery is depleting, I have solar panels that I put outside and they have a plug that plugs in to the generator to give me another day or two. And I have 2 different solar panels. So that's just an option of a non-fuel for me that worked well. I couldn't put something 25 or 20 feet from my home. I didn't want to deal with that. I don't have a lot to charge. I bought that when my kids were teenagers because we had to have access to the Wi-Fi and the phone. That's what is important in my house. So use the formulas that are available on the internet, see which size generator is best for you, and please reach out with any questions. And thank you so much for viewing this presentation.